Hello and welcome to another episode of Diaspora Network, where we celebrate Nigerians making significant strides around the world. I'm Amarachi Ubani. On this week's edition, we revisit some high points on the program in the year 2024. And this includes Nigerians in diaspora making significant contribution in healthcare, aviation, entrepreneurship, and other sectors. Let's have a look.
We begin with Dr. Olawale Suleiman, a professor of neurosurgery and spinal surgery who juggles operations across 2 continents. He lives in Louisiana and serves as chairman of the neurosurgery department at the Oxnard Health System in New Orleans and splits his time between the US and Nigeria, spending at least 10 days every month providing healthcare services back home. An indigene of Kwara State, he was born and raised in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. At the age of 19, his exceptional grades earned him a scholarship that changed his life forever. He co-founded the RNZ Clinic, a healthcare development company, with his wife, Patricia Suleiman. The facility provides medical services, including education, training, and providing medical care to Nigerians, including free neurosurgery and spine care. In order to make this happen, he took a pay cut of 25% to free up time for him to travel.
It takes a village. It takes a lot of putting the right components in place. Then the last job I held was I now said to Oshna Health, I said, I want you to pay attention to Africa. They have Oshna Health and Oshna International. Why don't you do Oshna International Africa? So I then became the regional medical director for Oshna International Africa. Then we started, and I negotiated for a reduction in my salary to give me 1 week a month so that I can drive this aspect of it. It's the same journey we're starting here. Where you are now is a premier, state-of-the-art, patient-centered, and team-based healthcare facility. And you see, when you enter here, you think you're in London or you're in America, because in medicine, we say you have to design the flow, and then you design the form. So form must follow flow. You design the flow of the patient through the clinic, then you build the structure to follow the flow. So here we drive patient-centered care. This is the RNZ clinic. So we've launched RNZ clinic. Before, I was going back and forth doing a lot of medical missions and also driving neurosurgery and neuroscience care. But as we're doing that, we also make sure that we have to create a sustainable model. Sometimes when you do everything free, it's not sustainable. People don't value it. And the mission work, no margin, no mission. So mission work must be supported with some kind of revenue. So we're now doing both. So RNZ Clinic is mostly focused on doing, I'm the first person to do minimally invasive spine surgery in sub-Saharan Africa. We've pioneered it. We've done over 200 cases now with excellent outcomes. But the clinic focuses on neurosurgery, minimally invasive spine, nerve surgeries, less invasive brain surgeries, and stem cell therapies for degeneration. We have now got to a stage where we're publishing our results from here. And the results are comparable to anywhere in the world. And you'll see some of that in the near future.
Next is Nigerian-British UCL's Professor of Pharmaceutical Nanoscience, Chioma Heu, a Fellow of the Academy of Medical Sciences, an Honorary Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, a Governor on the Wellcome Board and President of Wolfson College, University of Cambridge. Her professional journey kicked off decades ago in Nigeria, where she studied pharmacy at the University of Benin. After training as a pharmacist, Professor Heu has won numerous prizes for her work, notably the UK government's Women of Outstanding Achievement in Science, Engineering and Technology in 2007, the Royal Pharmaceutical Society Scientist of the Year 2012, Special Recognition Business of Science Leadership Award 2023, among several others. In 2019, she received an honorary degree from Lincoln University, and in 2024, she was listed in Who's Who 2024. Her work has been funded continuously for 21 years by the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, and she serves on the Biotechnology and Biological Sciences Research Council. She is the immediate past Vice Provost for Africa and the Middle East, and in this role, Professor Ochegbu led on the international research and teaching engagement strategy in the region.
One thing I have that a lot of academics don't have is knowledge and experience of working in a low-resource environment. I understand the challenges. When I was in Nigeria trying to do my master's research, I would travel from Lagos to Ife, which is a 2-hour journey by road, just to do one analytical test. And if I got there and the equipment was down, I would have to drive all the way back. So I understand this. I would drive from my university about 4 miles to another facility just to use a centrifuge because we didn't have one and they had one. I would drive to a library to get a particular document that I needed to consult. So I understood the challenge of working in a low resource environment. So when you approach, and the whole reason why you work internationally across geographical borders is because you end up with better results. One person brings some form of expertise, another person brings another form of expertise, and together then you create the best science. We cannot, as scientists working in the West, say we're going to solve big problems like climate change, food security, infectious diseases, just by focusing on what we can do in our laboratories in the West. We need to work with other scientists in other areas in order to solve these huge problems. So once you bear that in mind, and then you want to create a partnership of equivalence so that everybody brings something meaningful to the table. There are no junior partners or senior partners. Everybody's bringing something and there's a mutual respect for each other's expertise. If you're someone like me that has worked in a low resource environment, you immediately know what the challenges are. You don't have to guess at them. You don't have to wait for them to be revealed. So when you're trying to, and I'm not doing the research for my colleagues, they're doing the research, but I'm trying to facilitate the collaboration. The language is important. The way you show up is important. The way you listen is important. I think that's something that I had because I lived for 17 years in Nigeria. I lived in the disadvantaged East just after the war. I then moved to Lagos, which is a lot more affluent, and lived there. And even then I could see the difference between the two territories. But then I could see when I came to the UK, the difference between Lagos and London. So having that experience means that when you're addressing people and you're showing up at meetings, you really have a respect for someone who has had to mount all these hurdles, the types I described, to get one piece of data. It's huge, and you respect that.
Another personality making global impact in healthcare is Professor Bola Akin. He made history as the first male and first Black dean of the East Carolina University College of Nursing. Professor Akin founded Health for Nigeria, a nonprofit organization dedicated to expanding access to high-quality healthcare in Nigeria. The organization sets up clinics in rural public schools and deploys registered nurses to take care for students, teachers, and the local community.
Just like typical Nigerian parents, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, a physician. And, detailing back to my challenging high school days at Federal Government College, Idoani, I really struggled. I wasn't sure if I would be able to make that happen, but when I got to the United States in 1996, my mother passed away in 2000 from a heart attack. And I think that really did put healthcare in its proper perspective for me. And I think that laid the foundation that directed me into the healthcare field. And incidentally, I'm a clinician. I worked in a cardiac surgery ICU, and my PhD dissertation was also on cardiovascular health. I've done a lot of things. Sometimes I feel like I've lived more than one lifetime, which is interesting. But if I could be remembered for anything, I think I'd like to be remembered for the impact I'm making from over here in Nigeria in the healthcare space. In 2016, I returned to Nigeria with some very high hopes. Many individuals in the diaspora have tried this in the past, and my story is no different. Part of that was to care for my dad. The other part of that was to gain an adult professional understanding of our culture, policy, and how I could contribute to our country. And while I was there, as a healthcare professional here in the States, I got a better understanding of how healthcare works in Nigeria, how policy works in Nigeria. I also mentioned that my mother passed away in 2000. And I was in Nigeria for the whole of 2016 and 2017. I contributed to University of Health Sciences in Ondo, UNIMED, in terms of trying to make that institution a Western sort of based institution. So I learned about the academics also of healthcare in Nigeria. When I came back here, I thought I needed to do something. I wasn't sure what I would do, but I knew I needed to do something. I collaborated with the president of Teach for Nigeria, who does something similar. They place teachers in rural schools across the country. And whenever they would go out to these rural schools, they would ask about healthcare. And I thought, well, that's something I do. I have some experience. I have a lot of energy in that space. I started Health for Nigeria in memory of my mom. And that's how we put that plan together. So we launched Health for Nigeria in 2019. Originally, the goal was to strengthen and empower healthcare leaders as they make policy change to impact the country. But that didn't work out. The pandemic started. Students were being sent home. And we came back together and refocused and thought, what if we partner with secondary schools, local rural secondary schools, public schools, if they could give us a space that we could turn into clinics and we could hire registered nurses to work there to care for the students, the teachers, the staff, and the local communities, we could make tremendous impact happen.
Also featured on the program are some Nigerians in diaspora who are thriving in politics and leadership positions. Michael Situ, now former mayor of Southwark, spoke on emigrating to the UK at a young age, the importance of involving young people in decision-making, and the impact of Nigerian participation in diaspora politics. He was elected into office as mayor of Southwark in May 2023 and served for 1 year.
It's been a real honour and privilege to be councillor for the London Borough of Southwark over the last 13 years. I would say that with the highest thriving communities of Nigerians within the UK. And over the period that I've been councillor of the Oakham Road, which brings together the North Peckham community and my South Bermondsey community, which many Nigerians live in, I've been particularly proud of the impact I've been able to make. One of the things which a lot of people remind me sometimes is the fact that actually me just being me just stepping forward and being a councillor has been an inspiration to so many young people. And I've been particularly proud that over the last 13 years, I've particularly made it a priority to work with young people, but not just young people, but particularly people from an ethnic minority background. When opportunity is given to you, that there then is a sense of responsibility on you that you not only make best the opportunities that you have, but you also extend those opportunities. You also seek to try to bless others. I see myself as being incredibly blessed, to have the opportunity to come here and to have the opportunity to utilize my skills and to make the best opportunity that this environment has. But I think the responsibility is also on me to ensure that whatever I can do, not just in my own environment here, but also in the community that has blessed me so much before I come here, and I still have so much affinity to, that I do that. And that is what I've been trying to do over the years, is to see how I can support and benefit those who are in Nigeria in a collaborative way. I do not take claim that everything we do here is the best. There are things in which we can learn from Nigerians. There are things in which we can learn about the way in which the culture is organized, in the way in which the community is organized in Nigeria in itself, that we can kind of import here, and we can make better. But I think for those who are here, the diaspora, and I always say that the challenge is on us. We've got to do more. We've got to do more. We've got to think about how we can utilize our skills, our knowledge, our resources to benefit those who are less fortunate than us. Primarily in Nigeria, for those Nigerians that are based here, but those who are not Nigerians, anywhere around the world where they see injustice, where they see poverty, where they see kind of room for growth that they should seek to try to effect change within those communities. I'm incredibly proud in the little way in which I'm contributing, and I will continue to do so.
There's more when we return. Please stay with us.
Next is Deputy Minister, Trade, Immigration and Multiculturalism, Alberta, Canada, Professor Akin joined the Alberta Public Service in October 2022 as Deputy Minister of Trade, Immigration and Multiculturalism. Prior to joining government, he was an assistant professor at York University, where he taught auditing at undergraduate level, data analysis for performance audits, and public sector finance at graduate level. Dr. Fudike is a licensed public practitioner by CPA Alberta. He has almost 30 years of professional experience spanning telecoms, banking, utilities, education, oil and gas, and consumer packaged goods with organizations including Bell Canada and Molson Coors. Prior to academia, he was CFO, COO of one of the largest wireless internet service providers in Canada. He sat on the Provincial Audit Committee, as well as various other public and private company boards. He is a past chair of Scout Canada, as well as a past senator of the University of Calgary. A graduate of Haskell's PhD and Cornell's MBA programs, Dr. Fudike is a Canadian FCPA, a US CPA, a UK FCCA, and a certified fraud examiner. He's also a certified director of the Institute of Corporate Directors. He's happily married with 4 children.
I had a degree from Nigeria. I had a ton of banking experience. But I essentially had to go and, restart my training all over again after I relocated. So I remember, tough days, working in a warehouse somewhere, lifting boxes while I was going to school. So going to school during the day, working in a logistics company, not Amazon. There was no Amazon at that time. This was a long time ago. It was quite challenging, commuting during the winter. And the winters are cold. They're not mild. Commuting during the winter, waiting for buses, after I was done work at midnight, trying to get home in a snowstorm. And I kept asking myself, what am I doing here, right? But I persevered. It's something we have inside of us. Nigerians are very resilient people. We were able to do a lot in spite of. So in spite of all my challenges, I kept forging ahead. I believe we have a reserve of a reserve, right? When you're running on a reserve, there's times when the light comes up, you think you're almost out of gas. We as Nigerians have a reserve of a reserve. So many times I had to reach into the reserve of the reserve and just keep plowing ahead. I kept my eyes on what I believed was the prize. And with a little luck, they say good things. I think it's a Chinese adage, right? Happened at the intersection of good luck and time, right? So with a little luck at the right time, I think everything came together. Nigerians have a ton of agency, right? So we do a lot for ourselves. A lot that would otherwise, when I look at the society that I live in, a lot that would be done by government. So talk about waste management, education, power generation, all of that. Nigerians are self-sufficient, right? We do a lot of that for ourselves, provide security for ourselves. So I'll say it's just about governing, about providing, an enabling environment for people to thrive. Those same individuals thrive when they leave Nigeria. Those same individuals thrive here, but with a lot of self-sufficiency, right? Having to do a lot for themselves. So this is true for any government, anywhere, right? It's about just providing an enabling environment, the basics, and then, letting people do what they do. We live in a very innovative society here in Nigeria. Nigerians are very innovative. I can go on and on. The creative, industry, Nollywood, incredible food culture, a lot of things that I think present a ton of potentials in terms of what we could be exporting, what we could be doing, and we just need to essentially provide the enabling environment for people to thrive and then just contribute their piece. I believe this GDP has incredible potential if Nigerians are able to thrive.
Your gift is that thing you do so effortlessly that everyone thinks is such a big deal except you. And for me, that was interior design.
Tokes Aruture, a nursery interior designer and founder of the Baby Cot Shop, an upmarket retailer of baby and children's furniture and room decor based in Chelsea, London. Tokumbo's exceptional work has garnered attention from major British and international publications such as Vogue and Hello magazine. She's been recognized as a finalist of the prestigious Kensington and Chelsea Business Awards in 2018 and 2019, as well as being shortlisted twice for Retailer of the Year at the Women in Business Awards in 2015 and 2016. Passionate about passing on her knowledge to others, Tokes also hosts a podcast titled Living Inside Out. In July 2020, she was selected as one of 50 business owners by the UK government for their Great Inspiration campaign, which honored businesses that responded admirably during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I remember as a child growing up in Benin, I remember on rainy days we would stack wooden stools up. I would stack them up and turn them into little kiosks and stalls. And then I'll take all the tins out from the kitchen and all the bits and bobs and toys and arrange them and force my brothers to shop with me with Monopoly money. But it was just a way to pass time. I had zero desire to go into business. I actually wanted to be a doctor. I would go through my father's medical books as a child, and I was obsessed with the gory pictures of wounds that were oozing with pus and turning green and, the abscesses and all of that. I was really obsessed with it, and he always explained what they were to me. So I had an interest in medicine, and in many ways it was already set in stone that I was going to be a doctor because I wanted to be one. I wanted to be like Daddy. But then I came over to the UK, and the fact that my parents never stopped affirming us and told us how intelligent we were worked against me because I ended up not studying for A-levels and I failed woefully and couldn't get into medical school. And so I then went and I studied pharmacology instead with the intention of switching to medicine, but then got married in my second year and became obsessed with doing up our flats. And that's when the whole interior design thing came into play. I would spend more and more time at home improvement stores and less time in lectures at University of Hertfordshire. And eventually I admitted to myself that I had dropped out. So I went and I did an interior design course and became an interior designer. The business I purchased in the US was a luxury baby furniture store. I got introduced to premium wood and craftsmanship that had been in families for generations. And just the very difference between an item made individually and being mass produced. And it made more sense to have items made individually. One, because we're unique beings, but also because of the attention to detail, the art, the craftsmanship that goes into each piece. And I just felt really drawn to it. And that's how I ended up here. And I also knew that it was such an untapped market because in the United States, it's very normal for children to have rooms and nurseries that are out of this world. In the UK, it's still very understated. It's still very, people relegate the smallest room in the house to the nursery. And there was really not enough knowledge or not enough choice, even now, of luxury products and beautiful products that also give parents the flexibility to have exactly what they want. So that gave me the courage to get started. And we're still here.
Finally, Dr. Essiano Kuribi, founder and CEO of Impact in Leadership, an organization committed to nurturing young minds with a vision to empower and inspire the next generation of leaders in Africa and across the world. His passion for cultivating leadership potential is the driving force behind this initiative, a journey he embarked on in 2015. He's also a practicing medical doctor with training from the University of Calabar Medical School. He moved to the UK where he specialized in general practice. He's currently a GP partner working in England and has a diploma with the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. He also has a big interest in medical education and has worked in a few roles, including associate lecturer at the University of Worcester, where he lectured on women's health during the COVID-19 pandemic. He played a pivotal role in educating the public and analyzing the far-reaching effects of the global health crisis. Fueled by the belief that every young individual possesses untapped potential, Dr. Okurebi has dedicated himself to creating a platform that goes beyond traditional education, instilling values and skills that form the bedrock of impactful leadership.
My journey, both as a medical doctor in Nigeria and having to leave Nigeria, and also as someone who is, interested in leadership, has, as you rightly said, come with its challenges. Looking back at medical school, the struggles we had to go through whilst in medical school with limited resources, limited exposure. We had to work extra hard. We had to work under tough, circumstances as well, not having, available resources to learn with. But we had to, do the extra. At those levels, that has contributed to bringing us to where we are today. That was a challenge at the time, and we were able to, scale through that challenge. There's also challenge of integrating to a new country, to a new system as well. Leaving Nigeria, anyone who migrates from Nigeria, of course, pretty much has to fit in, where they find themselves. And that in itself was a major challenge. Coming to the NHS, coming to the UK, having to function at a very high level, working with, systems in the healthcare that you haven't been exposed to previously were also challenges. But, we learned resilience from where we were coming from. We learned to stay focused. We learned to be hardworking. And this is how we've been able to, sail through this challenge. And in a short time, being in this country less than 10 years, we have been able to achieve a lot personally in my medical career. Talking about the leadership side of things as well, there's also challenges in that area. When we started, impacting leadership, there are lots of pushbacks, there are lots of financial constraints, how to get these young people started and moving. But of course, we were focused on our goal. We knew what we wanted to do. We've seen the vision for Nigeria. We're interested in leadership development and growth in Nigeria. And we kept moving. And today we have, sponsorships from all over the place, people partnering with us, with the work that we're doing, at impacting leadership. So yes, we have had challenges, or I have had challenges, but of course I've kept pushing, I've kept, keeping the stride moving, and that has brought me to where I am today.
That wraps up another episode of Diaspora Network. Remember, you can find more amazing stories of Nigerians making their mark on the global stage on our YouTube channel and website, channelstv.com. I'll see you again next time. I'm Amarachi Ubani.